All right, 3, 2, 1. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On tonight's show, I have a great guest, somebody whose videos I've watched over and over. There's about 143 at this point. He makes them under the name of Program to Kill, referencing the great late Dave McGowan's book, Program to Kill, The Politics of Serial Murder. And he's done just so much work. And these are about 10 minutes each. So there's tons of information on so many serial killers. His name is Patrick. I've heard him on Ed Opperman and many other places as well. But tonight we're going to talk about a specific subject. He sent me some of his specific research on this kind of theme I've been pursuing, which is the gay serial killer. So he sent me stuff on John Wayne Gacy, who we're going to talk about, and some other pretty dark subject matter. So I would not want to have the audio of this in the purview or in the close to anybody who might be sensitive. So anyway, Patrick, are you there?
I'm here, William. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for agreeing to the interview. So you sent me this one article that I read. It's an article from September 28th, 2018, titled, "Was John Wayne Gacy Connected to a Ring of Homosexual Sadists and Murderers?" And it was remarkable in a lot of ways. It's a great article. It shows that there's a lot more nuance to the John Wayne Gacy murders, but they also brought up something that I wrote or made the documentary about, which is the smiley face killings and how these do overlap. So, Patrick, for people who don't know you, maybe the best thing to do is just talk a little bit about your background, how you became interested in these subjects, and then we can just kind of get into the general information.
Yeah, sure. My first name is Patrick. I'm now 29 years old. I came from Europe. At the age of 15, I became fascinated by the topic of serial killers and also psychology, criminology, sociology. So I read a lot of books of a lot of different serial killers, going to the library. It was also the early stages of YouTube, so there's only more information available. And I think 3 years later, I also found the book Program to Kill, The Politics of Serial Murder, by author Dave McGowan, and actually thought it was just like another serial killer book just to gain more knowledge about them, despite reading the back front, of course, the back cover. But still, after a few chapters, the information was just totally mind-blowing with all the unanswered questions that I have with all the serial killers. And he really demonstrates that all those serial killers and mass murderers have connections with the military, the intelligence agencies, Satanism, the occult, and secret societies. And I think all those topics are we going to discuss, which all combined with the serial killers.
And often left out in the general narratives. The lone serial killer, not killers, it's always this individual. And a lot of that backstory is either negligently or intentionally deleted from the stories of these guys. But last week I talked about one of the more prolific serial killers here in California. His name was Randy Kraft, also known as the Scoreboard Killer. Maybe killed 100 people. But the remarkable thing about him too was that he was politically active. He a lot like Gacy, and you see these overlapping elements between Kraft and Gacy where there's a lot more to the story.
Yeah, there certainly is. It's just remarkable that he also got a letter from the Senator Robert Kennedy. And despite his intelligence, he was also a pretty well student, drinking and taking drugs, and regularly attending all-night gambling and poker sessions with the other students. So he was a pretty bright person, but something went wrong.
Yeah, and he got into like some very good private schools, excellent schools. The Pomona, I think went to Pomona College. So he was definitely a higher tiered individual. Probably one of the reasons why he got away with the murders for so long. But Gacy was a lot like him, also politically active. Picture of him with Rosalind Carter or whatever her name was, Jimmy Carter's wife.
Yeah, also Ted Bundy, his connection with the Rockefellers. So yeah, it's
right. So he Bundy worked on the Nelson Rockefeller campaign, right?
Yeah, correct.
And he also was kind of he was politically active, but also a law student, so he was very intelligent. Yeah, I mean, Bundy's an incredible story as well. And there are other stories about whether he was part of a satanic group, which would make a lot of sense considering his sensibilities. He also like had no guilt. He actually, I was watching this documentary about him on Netflix, and it was like Bundy intentionally desired not to have any regrets.
Yeah, I think Ted Bundy was probably guilty of a few murders totally on his own, but the majority was done, I think, with other perpetrators or with completely different motives.
And why do you say that?
According to all the research that McGowan provided, and also my own personal, and also George from CAFDev.org, you can really see almost like the law enforcement connections with the different victims that were connected to them, mm-hmm. also with drug trafficking, things like that.
Well, it would make sense of why he got out of jail, escaped, he was let go many times. And same with Gacy. Gacy himself, I think there was one situation I read that somebody made a complaint to the police and they just said, don't worry about it, it's not going to be a charge, somebody who was abused by Gacy. So Gacy himself was probably networked and was obtaining favors, right?
Yeah, most definitely. It's also more disturbing that I think even the own news reports.
There were like 3 serial killers that were abducting young male victims in California in the 70s and 80s. I talked to Dennis McDougal about one last week, Randy Kraft, but there were 2 others, Patrick Kearney, William Bonin. Can you talk a little bit more about them?
Yeah, you have a character named Patrick Kearney. His IQ is estimated between 140, 180, so he's really a bright guy. He was also called the Trash Bag Killer. He was born in East Los Angeles, California. And according to one book that I read, his parents locked him up in the basement until the age of 5. And to me, that's very reminiscent of Edmund Kemper, the co-ed killer from Santa Cruz. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty interesting that he has somewhat of the similar backgrounds. And his father was also a police officer and described as a strict disciplinarian. And he was a pretty thin, sick child always. Got bullied at school. And he became withdrawn and fantasizing about killing people.
And so these guys, he was also kind of like in the same kind of ambit of Dave McGowan's serial killers, and the fact that he was involved with the military, right?
Yeah, actually all 3 of them were military connected through the Army or Air Force, yeah. Gotcha.
And Kearney worked at Hughes Aircraft back in the day, defense contractor, building satellites, things like that, or that's what Hughes did. But he had a security clearance, correct?
Yeah, he also had a security clearance, yeah.
And so he was down here in Los Angeles, but I think they were in Redondo Beach, pretty close to where I am, actually. Not about 3 cities away.
Do you also know Lars Bittaker and Roy Norris?
Bittaker, no, I'm not familiar with that name.
Okay.
Who was he?
He was called the Toolbox Killer, with Roy Norris abducting girls in his van, murder Mac, and just torturing them and audio recording everything.
Gotcha. Bittaker and Norris. Were they the ones who drove around in a bus throughout L.A. as well? Yes, I know the Toolbox Killers. Yes, I'm familiar with that. John Douglas said he was the most disturbing individual who ever created a criminal profile was Lawrence Bittaker.
Yeah, they still have the tape recording at Quantico and use it to desensitize agents.
Wow, because they're just so cold-blooded, Norris and Bittaker were. It's weird, too, because right there's all these people, killing people on freeways. It wasn't just gay killers. It was these guys, too. There was the Hillside Stranglers. All these guys. It was terrifying back in those days. So Kearney kind of moved around, but how many people did he say he ended up killing?
I think he confessed initially to 15, but other people say 21. And
he was networked. I mean, people think that he was networked as well. He was traveling to Canada. He knew how to fly, correct?
yeah, and I think that's very interesting because maybe he was also like engaged with human trafficking or drug trafficking or the moving around to snuff movies, things like that.
Wow.
If you own private plane.
Sure. I mean, it's for a purpose. I mean, those small private airplanes move a lot of things. The people don't know that, but the real drug trade is, it's smaller airports. You know, those smaller airports are where a lot of sketchy things take place. And Kearney said that he knew Lee Harvey Oswald too, correct?
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, so you just see and he said that Oswald said he was a spy back then, that there was a military language school, that there's references to Mexico City where there was supposedly Lee Harvey Oswald's double or himself were there. So Kearney was probably operating in that same kind of underground environment and also killing people. And his victims were all young males, is that correct?
Yeah. I think the majority was above 25, yeah.
Gotcha. And
13, 35, yeah.
Gotcha. And he was he working? Did they say he had a boyfriend too? Right. So it was kind of like the same thing as some of these other killers, where there might be, somebody else might have been involved.
Yeah, they initially brought him also to the station. He was actually charged, but they released him for lack of evidence. But yeah, I don't know. It's fairly uncertain that he didn't know anything that Patrick Kearney was up to.
Wow. All right. So yeah, however likely that is, But the other one, I'm sorry.
That listening to your podcast with that author about the book of Randy Kraft, that he said some things about Patrick Kearney, that if it wasn't for his motivation to kill Patrick Kearney, he could be otherwise a millionaire in Silicon Valley, because it was like a real electronics whiz kid.
Right. Yeah.
So that's also interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, these guys are smart. Like, why are they doing these evil things? Like Kraft, Kearney, very intelligent. And I mean, even you mentioned the guy up in Northern California. He had like a 150 IQ.
Yeah, Lawrence Bittaker was also highly intelligent.
Yeah, it's really crazy. So, just because you're intelligent doesn't mean that you're a good person. And then the other one was William Bonin, who was a kind of another one just on the same thing like these guys, where, it's the same background. Talk about William Bonin.
Yeah, and a few things about Patrick Kearney. It is interesting to know that he was also employed at the Hughes Aircraft company, a defense contractor, yeah.
Right.
And it's also, of course, associated with Lockheed Martin and Skunk Works, which is actually a different name for Lockheed Martin. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, he had a security clearance. He's probably working on high-tech stuff back then, all kinds of weaponry, geosynchronous satellites. Who knows? I don't know exactly what his special specifications were or specialty Kearney was, but I'm sure he was within that environment.
Yeah, and that's the same environment that also Lawrence Bittaker was employed at. He was employed at Skunk Works, some kind of also an aircraft manufacturer company.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
In Santa Barbara, I think, yeah.
Fascinating. It's really amazing. These guys all operated right around the same time. And so Bonin himself was also associated with the military as well, too.
Yeah, all three of them. But Bonin has had a really harsh life. His father was a compulsive gambler and physically abusive. His grandfather was a convicted child molester. He was severely neglected as a child, probably also sexually. And he joined the Air Force, so yeah.
So, and he also was in a state hospital where all these other guys worked, right? So, Atascadero State Hospital.
Yeah, a lot of serial killers actually went there. Emmett Kemper, Roy Norris, Lawrence Bittaker. It's just amazing. And also about what Emmett Kemper was telling about behavior modification. Like, he knew all these kind of things already.
Interesting. So they're learning stuff while they're at these hospitals.
Yeah, it's just incredible. I mean, they get to these hospitals, get treatment, getting released, killing people, and getting sent back to that same hospital.
Wow, incredible.
Or another hospital, facility.
And Bonin himself was not alone when he was committing these. It's kind of like the John Wayne Gacy model, where there's all these other accomplices, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Even John Wayne Gacy, before his execution, told many names of other people who were associates of them and were complicit in the crimes. But now everybody wants to believe the official narrative. There's just one guy, one perpetrator, and
right. And
everybody has done his job good and made some money.
Right, and Gacy himself, when he was arrested, said he told the cops, "Who else did you arrest?" Right, and I think that's in your video for Program to Kill on Gacy. Is like he's saying, "Who else you got?" Right.
Yeah, that's really McGowan's investigations. The first 20 parts of the video series is all practically McGowan's work directly from the book. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so, how many people were working with Bonin when he was, or how many people were killing with Bonin when he was committing his serial killings?
Yeah, at least 4. One of them was called Vernon Butts, a factory worker and also a part-time magician who had a fascination with occultism. So that's pretty interesting. And he freely admitted that he was taking great delight in watching Bonin abuse and torture victims. But he was also quite terrified of him, so it's pretty interesting. Conflicted person.
And then he
excuse me. He also committed suicide. Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's probably the weight of his conscience. On how many people did Bonin end up committing murder on? Do you know?
No, not at the top of my head. No.
Gotcha. But he also had other people. There was another guy, Miley, Pugh. Can you talk about them?
Gregory Matthews Miley, he was an illiterate Texas native with an IQ of only 65. So that's like really low. I mean, that's almost like worse than mentally retarded. I think Aldous Stool had an IQ of 75. So, and he was just supporting himself with casual work and participated in many of the murders.
Yeah, Bonin's death was somewhere between 21 and 36 victims. So.
Yeah, I attribute it to him. Yeah, you don't know if he's guilty to every single one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary. Same with Kraft. He could have been over 100, which is really terrifying. Number of people to get away with killing, and nobody ever caught him until the end, which is really scary. So Gregory Miles, IQ 56. And then there was another, William Ray Pugh was involved?
Yeah, he had an intense conversation in his van with him and later made incriminating statements against Bonin in court for unrelated out-of-theft. So he got off some hooks, some charges.
Gotcha. All right. So
that's also a similar thing that is also happening with court cases, that you can buy actually everyone and just file a complaint to them, on the road.
I see. And so, another guy testified against Bonin at the court, right, to avoid the death penalty. Bonin was put to death, right?
Yeah, I think he was executed in 1996. Yeah, when he was 33.
Wow.
When he was 33, when he was caught. No, I don't know when. No.
Let's see, Bonin. He died at 49. He was convicted in 1983. So, yeah, he was about 35 when he got busted. But yeah, I mean, it's just incredible that there are that many young boys in California in that area just to be a predator upon. You think that somebody would key into it.
Yeah, but I think it's very interesting that many of the victims of especially Bonin and Kraft were actually military related. Many of them were from United States Marine Corps and other other sections of the military. So yeah.
Did you ever read about anything about them drugging their victims? Was there a lot of drugs involved?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
I
they're
can
wrong.
recall from, I think it was Randy Kraft who was doing that a lot, and also a little bit Bonin, yeah. And also, of course, the family in Australia.
The family. Let's talk about the family in Australia, because that is an interesting case. It happened in Adelaide, and the guy that they arrested, his name was Bevan Spencer von Einem, was like this supposed ringleader, but it's a lot like the Gacy case, because there were other people that were supposedly involved. They were never arrested or tried. I think Spencer von Einem is still in jail. These murders happened between 73 and 83, but they fit the profile exactly of Kraft, Bonin, and Kearney. Young men out, and the same thing. And some of these bodies they're dumped in strange places, and a lot of them had very severe anal injuries. So there's a lot of torture. And then they found out that there might be tons of people involved, more than 12 people involved that were never charged. So pretty remarkable case.
Yeah, it's truly unbelievable that you have the same MOs just globally being carried out. Yeah,
right. And these guys are in cars, right? So Spencer von Einem is just like Eiler, this other serial killer in the Midwest. I researched about or talked to. Her name was Kolarek, who wrote a book about him. But just trolling around, driving around, looking for victims, and that was the same thing. It looks like Spencer von Einem and his cohorts, and they know that there were other people involved because people saw him together with other people. It's just an incredible case, and that also involved drugs. He was drugging people with something called Mandrax and Noctec, and there was one victim that fits right into the smiley face killer paradigm, who was held for 5 weeks before he was murdered. So you can see that same thing happening here in the States. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's just more incredible that they all always want to have the official narrative that's just all one guy or maybe two guys, but it's never being discussed as like a group of people. And it's also just incredible how many of these killers are photographing or videotaping their exploits.
Right. Did you come across any of these people, Gacy or any of these killers who took videos or videotapes?
Well, at least Gacy confessed that a character named Philip Paskey, who was associated with Johnny Norman, worked for him, and he was into videotaping sex with children and pimping out girls and things like that. And Ted Bundy claimed that he had Polaroid pictures of some of the murders and later burned them because he was spooked out when police were investigating or had a search warrant in his apartment. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I wouldn't be surprised if those are somewhere underground, that there are tapes of some of these smiley face killings being filmed or something like that, dark web. I don't know, but it's incredible that.
Yeah, but even reports from the family in Australia, there are people who are calling to the hotline channels and saying literally from I can say where I saw it, but I saw a snuff movie of one of those victims.
Wow. Really? I didn't know that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And that case was still ongoing. I think von Einem got convicted in the 90s, but they went and did a full cold case review and reinvestigated a lot of people who were associated with him, and they were never brought charges, but there was a doctor involved, there was a couple prominent people who were associated with von Einem, but they didn't have enough evidence to convict. Yeah, so the family in Adelaide, really incredible. There's a good documentary. There's a really good documentary on your Program to Kill, but also your Program to Kill, by the way, if people want to see the full series, it is at LOL Field and Love on YouTube right now, as far as it's still up. So I wouldn't be surprised if it disappears. So I would highly recommend people go check that out. But yeah, you have a segment on the family in Adelaide.
Yeah, let's not hope so. But I'm currently also making a website. So
oh, good. Do you have a URL? Do you have a?
I'm thinking about programtokill.net.
Okay, cool. So people can look for that there. I mean, it's just a great research. It's such a, this subject still ongoing. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, in the Smiley Face Killers, there's a couple, at least groups or teams predating on young men in the United States that nobody's putting the warning out. So, they haven't been caught yet. So maybe they've been caught, but maybe only got one charge for one thing. But there's so many victims. It's just incredible.
Yeah, you also have the Oakland County killer with the North Fox Islands. It's also just incredible, all those places.
What was the Oakland County killer?
I can't recall now which state. Maybe it was like Chicago. All those children were disappearing, and
yes.
later found murdered. And there was also some kind of secretive island called North Fox Island, and there were all these pedophiles just luring those children there with planes and just taking advantage of them.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, and you have the Franklin conspiracy. You have Jeffrey Epstein. So these things are happening. I don't know if there are any murders associated with Epstein, but there's a lot of sketchy stuff happening right now. So, it's pretty incredible. What about maybe we can talk a little bit more about Craft? I mean, or some of these other ones. You mentioned some other names that pop up, like Herb Baumeister, Nelson. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that Randy Kraft actually stated that he said, "I didn't get a fair trial. The government turned it into a serial killer trial." So that's pretty interesting that he didn't thought he got a fair trial.
What do you think he meant by that?
Well, that he was probably on his own guilty of a few murders, but not as a serial killer. That just want to shove every single victim on his name,
Wow.
just to clear the books.
Right. Oh, good point. Yes. Yeah, and there was he did the same thing where he abducted somebody for 5 days and then killed them, so he would keep people alive. And
yeah, even more interesting, there were also found many Polaroid pictures of many of his victims, and police authorities actually stated that he didn't have any darkroom expertise or didn't receive any kind of employer at a Photoshop store saying what the hell is this? What kind of photographs are these? So he did have an associate processing all these pictures. I mean, it's also pretty interesting.
Right. So I mean, he might have even been selling those or trafficking in those back in that day before Polaroid. Yeah, it's incredible.
It's incredible. After all my research in the video series, I've researched now like 50 different cases. So it's also sometimes hard to figure everything out and memorize everything. And
sure.
But like every murder case, like 80% or 85% of them, every single serial killer mass murder does deal in snuff movies or some kind of photographs or videotaping of some form of abuse. Wow. So it's just really mind blowing. Where are all those videotapes and for what purpose exactly? I mean. After all my research, I think it's like dealing and trafficking and these networks with each other.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's like a currency for them.
I would say so. There probably is a more underground market for that. I hear that there's an underground market. There was, what was the guy, Richard Ng, and they were abducting people and taking them up into the California hills.
Leonard Lake and Charles Ng.
Yeah, so that was another one. They know that they were making snuff films, flat out. Terrible. I mean, horrible. That's a horror show of a case. So Kraft, I mean, it's just incredible. Like, he had this guy, Jeff Graves. I mean, they know that somebody helped him move the bodies around, right?
Yeah. I think one of his former boyfriends was definitely in on the murders at some point level in time. But he died of AIDS, and when he was asked by the police, he bluntly stated, listen, I'm not going to take the fall for this.
Right. Like, he knew. Yeah, it's just incredible. And these guys are moving around, too. This is another guy, kind of like Kearney, who's traveling between jurisdictions. So, very sinister stuff.
We can talk about Herb Baumeister, because this guy was also videotaping everything around him. And you can't believe it, because when the police first came to his huge estate, they saw all the film equipment, like different lenses, tripods, different cameras. And when they later came back for another search, everything was just gone. All the videotapes, like 100 videotapes, all the camera lenses, everything. So I don't know. It's a little bit speculation, but I've always had the hunch that Herb Baumeister was some kind of organizer of parties at the estate, and there was also probably some kind of blackmail, just some kind of blackmail filming of activities in that pool.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. Didn't he find his victims at gay bars, kind of like Dahmer?
Yeah. Yep.
And they found human remains on his property. I think his kids found it, and they're like, he tried to rationalize it like Baumeister was something else, and they called him the Interstate 70 killer, something like that. And that was in the 90s.
Yeah, the I-70 killer, and also Larry Eiler was also probably associated directly or indirectly with him. Yeah.
You think that Eiler and Baumeister probably knew each other?
I think directly and indirectly, yeah. I can't say directly because I don't have any substantiated evidence or anything. But yeah,
I mean,
they were dealing in the same criminal enterprises, and geographically, it would make perfect sense.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they're in the same geographic area, no doubt. Probably, saw similar things amongst themselves. Like, I mean, it's just incredible when you look at all these. And what was the whole story? Do you know the story of Dean Corll out of Texas and how John Wayne Gacy knew him? Do you know about that story?
Yeah, that's also just completely unbelievable that you have the Dean Corll murders, also by Elmer Wayne Henley Jr. and David Brooks, early 1970s, Texas. And actually this guy was also associated with a porn ring with John D. Norman, and John D. Norman was also very connected with John Wayne Gacy at the later stadium.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's the connection. Is Norman is the connection between Gacy and Corll?
Yeah. Yep.
It's just amazing. And then Gacy himself, the latter parts of his murders, he started dumping the victims in rivers and water, right?
Yeah, that also maybe is a comparison with the smiley face killer.
Yes. It seems like, this. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's kind of the same thing that happened there, the Atlanta child murders. The ability to, or somebody figured out that's where you can destroy evidence, confuse police, something like that. Just put them in water. It's just incredible that these guys kind of cross over, that Gacy and Corll. And even then you get into Gacy and the connection to Robin Gecht and the Ripper trial, because Gecht supposedly knew Gacy. Is that correct?
Yeah. Apparently he was employed at the PDM contractors. So you have they're all connected with each other. It's like not really a coincidence. It's Yeah,
and the Ripper crew in Chicago, one of the guys just got paroled. One of the guys with the Greek last name, one of them just got paroled. So, they're still around. And the guy, Gecht, still denies everything. And there's all kinds of occultism, Satanism. I talked about him when I was on that occult crime show that's on Netflix right now. I referenced the Ripper crew. So, it's just incredible that these guys are... And, you wonder how many people know these guys are killing, right? How many people know Gacy's a killer? In the video you did, you had these guys, Rossi, and all these other people that, God, they had to have known what was going on.
Yeah, they were living in the same house, and Gacy described the house not really as like a real house, but like someone that's always like moving out, and just like in a living place, like in a restaurant.
Right. So people are coming and going. The big people who survived Gacy said they saw lights going on in other rooms, so they knew that Gacy wasn't there alone. I mean, it just gets really creepy. And this guy Rossi and these other people, Rossi dug some of the graves, but claims he didn't know what was going on. It's just off the charts.
Yeah, I speculated with some other people, and we probably came to the conclusion that PDM contractors was probably like a front for like a male prostitution ring.
Oh, interesting. That's fascinating. Do you know what PDM stands for?
Paint, decorating, and maintenance.
And was that something that Gacy started? Was he the president?
Yeah, he was.
Okay, I see. So Gecht worked basically for Gacy through his company. It's just amazing how much information there is and how similar these guys operate. It's really something else.
Yeah, it's incredible that almost all of them, except Gacy now, have a military background. It's all military background, yeah. Always like some kind of intelligence, yeah.
Wow. Well, where can people reach out? All your information is again at LOL Field and Love, and you're still putting out something. You just put out a video within the last 2 weeks about the Hollywood Ripper, this guy Michael Gargiulo, which is going on. The trial is going on right now in LA, and they're covering it. And some of the pictures that you had on that video, he has like occult tattoos. He's got like a pyramid with a sun, all kinds of stuff. Do you know of any occult connection to this Gargiulo guy?
No, not any occult connections, but it was certainly interesting that he had an all-seeing eye tattooed on his shoulder.
Yeah. And the crimes were incredibly vicious, really overkill. He was very violent. Yeah. So, and I think he's still denying all this, that he committed any kind of crimes too. And that was an unsolved, the death of, I can't remember her name right now, but that was like an unsolved murder. Nobody really knew who did it until Gargiulo got caught trying to kill somebody else. And then he told the police, hey, just because my DNA is at 10 crime scenes doesn't mean I'm involved. So they only have him for 4. So where are the other 6 victims, right?
Yeah, but it is a fair statement, what he says. But it's just interesting. Or he is the unluckiest person on the face of the earth, right. Or it was just like he was living at a close proximity to all of these victims. So, yeah.
So he must have seen them or did something like that.
I think, most definitely he was compromised in some way or another, and that's why he is in prison right now.
Gotcha. Is there anything we missed? Anything you want to share? Any contact information? Your website will be programtokill.net. Anything else before we're at 40 minutes? So.
Well, maybe one small thing. It's interesting to know that Jeffrey Dahmer owned 2 books. One of them was called Free to Kill, about Larry Eiler, and the other was Killing for Company, about Dennis Nilsen, who was actually called British Jeffrey Dahmer.
Wow, I didn't know that. So he had Kolarik's book, that lady I talked to. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Did you ever figure out why Dahmer liked Exorcist 3? Did you ever do research on that?
I saw the movie by myself, and I know the director or writer was a former CIA agent, and it was a really disturbing movie with really weird subliminal imagery and things, and also the storyline. But I don't know. I have always suspected that that movie was some kind of trigger mechanism to some kind of behavior.
Wow.
There's also another serial killer called Danny Rawling, the
guy from Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was also heavily influenced by that movie,
really?
Gemini. Yeah.
Wow. So Gemini came from that movie.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. Because that's what the guy who survived Dahmer said. He would put it on and start chanting, and that movie was actually directed by Peter Blatty, the writer of The Exorcist.
Yeah.
So there's another tie. I mean. Then The Exorcist is found at the West Memphis 3 deaths, like all kinds of stuff. So, but I did not know that Dahmer had Free to Kill, that Kolarek book. Wow.
Yeah, you have also a book called The Collector by John Falls, and 2 serial killers, at least 2 serial killers that we know of, had it in their possession. Leonard Lake was heavily obsessed by that book, and also Bob Berdella from Kansas City.
Right, Berdella was also he preferred men to women, is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So and he was also heavily into a satanic ritual abuse. He was really in a coffin, in a local coffin, yeah.
So he would sleep in a coffin or something like that?
No, in a local coffin, and like witch coffin.
A coven. So he was in a Coven. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that about Berdella. That's incredible. But those were kind of like abduction, torture, S&M type murders too, Berdella.
Yeah, most definitely. And also pharmaceutical. He had a lot of drugs. This guy was completely connected with some kind of entity that provided him with all those drugs.
Wow, that's incredible. It's just when you start studying him, you just see these similarities, connections. It's just an incredible work that you've done there on our program to kill. So I commend you for that. people got to check it out. I mean, because these things are still happening today. Smiley face killers is still going on. So, it's a tragedy. So, again, Patrick, Programmed to Kill, thank you very much for the interview. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, William.
All right.
Have a good evening.
You as well. Take care. Okay.
Bye.